All right, everybody, welcome back. Happy Skews Day to you as you see this. You're seeing this on February 25th, 2025. It is actually where we're doing this here in the past. It's Monday, February 24th at 3:03 p.m. on the left coast as we sit down to do this here episode of Weekly Skews for you. I'm Trey Crowder. That's Mark Agee. Everything's, going great in the world, and we're here to talk about it. Nothing but good, fun stuff the whole way through. Hey, Mark.
Yeah, but when we're talking about Trump's war on America's food supply and trying to destroy the farms and the eggs and shit, so that'll be fun. I want to take a little bit of a step back and talk about something big picture because getting lost in the fucking chaos of all this shit. Speaking of which, let's talk about a little bit of the chaos. This absolutely floored me. Let me quote here. President Trump, furious about delays in delivering 2 new Air Force One jets, has empowered Elon Musk to explore drastic options to prod Boeing to move faster, including relaxing security clearance standards for people who work on the presidential planes.
Right.
If you told... At least it's nice to know they believe in their own nothing matters bullshit.
That is exactly the takeaway that I had from this, too. I was like, you know what? In a weird way, I'm the opposite of... Reassured is not the right word. I'm the opposite of reassured. But
right.
So, I am strangely, I guess, comforted in some way by the fact that this tells you that they really do think that things work this way. Like, clearly, because he wouldn't, jeopardize his own fucking life if he actually believed that, regulations and strict protocols and stuff mattered and were helpful. And he clearly he clearly does believe that it's just totally unnecessary, inefficient bullshit. So,
yeah.
At least that's something, I guess.
Yeah, when you die in a plane crash, at least know that the President of the United States isn't far behind you.
Right.
I look forward. Have they not Google News searched Boeing recently, or what the fuck is I look forward to something going wrong, Elon blaming Boeing and them killing Elon as a whistleblower.
Yeah,
that's kind of where we're headed. It's going to be extremely funny when Trump gets sucked out of the window of Air Force One and he goes see splats in a cornfield in Nebraska, and a bunch of MAGA people are trying to collect his bones to sell for relics later. That'll be great. Another story I want to talk about. Doge staffer known as Big Balls, reportedly the grandkid of a KGB spy. So, Edward Korestein, I remember him. He's the one who's the member of who was on the board that was also the satanic neo-Nazi cult that was blackmailing kids for child porn.
Yeah. So that was Big Balls was also the satanic Nazi cult one.
Yeah, okay. I think so. Yeah, so I guess we can call it, since the grandson of a KGB spy, we can call him, I guess Big Balls is short for Bigomir Balsky. That's what we'll call him going forward. So the takeaway from this, people he's a Russian asset, but this spy he was a grandson of was actually an FBI asset, and his granddad, whose name was Valery Martinov, was arrested by the KGB and executed for being an American asset. So the real takeaway here is that Big Balls, the grandson, is more damaging to U.S. freedom and prosperity than an actual KGB agent.
Yeah, I mean, look, my papaws, may they rest in peace, are obviously, they weren't beacons of progressivism or anything like that. They didn't work for the Russian government, but you know what I mean. They weren't in the Klan, but they bandied some words about. They were cavalier with their with their racial stances on things. So far be it from me. But yeah, Big Balls. It's just one of those things where it's every new fact you learn about all of these people makes it more like lunacy and comically fucking upsetting. It's like learning that Elon and last week we talked about Elon and Eric Adams having the same lawyer. It's the world's such a small place to all these rich, powerful people. It's it inherently looks like a conspiracy board because they're doing more than 2 steps removed from any powerful person doing fucked up shit, right? Mm-hmm. I can't. I don't. Big Balls is going to end up so dead. So I think we're going to talk about the backlash to a lot of Congresspeople in a dumbass segment, but I wanted to. They're just going so fast. If I was going to destroy the federal government, I'd probably take it one agency at a time. Mm-hmm. So going too fast politically.
they went to a huge thing. Like, it was just a month ago when Elon did a Nazi salute at an inauguration event. Everybody had to pretend it wasn't a Nazi salute. Steve Bannon and another guy both did Nazi salutes at CPAC this weekend. CPAC's every weekend now, I guess.
I know. That's what I always think, too. It's like I see clips from it all the time, and it's like, is this not a... I thought things like that were supposed to be like, an annual thing, but they just do them all the time. I mean, I guess somebody's making money off of selling tickets to those or something. Plus, it's a good propaganda campaign. When people are showing up, why not do it, I guess? But it seems like a little...
Yeah. Charge $1,000 a ticket to be able to lobby the government. Who wouldn't? Like, it's free money. So the second guy who threw up the Nazi salute was a Mexican actor by the name of Eduardo Verastegui. Sorry if I'm fucking that. I'm fucking that up so
I mean, I don't know. I looked at his name and you got me. That was an admirable effort.
Sorry to any of our Latino viewers for how bad I fucked that up. But I looked at his most notable role was he played Kevin James' romantic rival in Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. I'm like, how are we down to a sidekick in a nemesis in Paul Blart 2? Why is he speaking at CPAC? I know the answer is he was in that Sound of Freedom movie, the QAnon movie. But what the fuck? Anyway. Sorry, go ahead.
You're a big fan of the movie? It's a running thing with them and not having, they just don't have the best roster. I mean, Kid Rock and Hulk Hogan they're not always free. I mean,
yes, they are.
Yeah, right. But I guess they just want to switch it up a little bit, and it's like, it's a pretty short list they're working from. So you get down to, the fourth on the call sheet in Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. But he said the guy's Mexican. Are we talking like? Because they do have white people in Mexico. No, he's a Nazi, right? So is he?
No, he looked like he had actual pigment.
That's so.
It is deeply funny. They were like, "We're not racist. We have Mexican friends." Their Mexican friend immediately does a Nazi salute. It's like really fucking funny.
Right.
But the Nazi salutes didn't even go over well with the actual Nazis. Let me fucking quote. Like, when I say they're going too fast, is what I'm talking about. Nick Fuentes from his podcast started tonight and said, quote, Bannon gets up there and says, Trump's going to run in 28. Then he throws up a straight-up Roman salute. It's getting a little uncomfortable even for a guy like me. Even I'm starting to feel like that guy in that picture who wouldn't how Hitler. Like, they're getting thermostatic blowback from fucking Nazis.
Yeah.
He wasn't the only one. Now, we got to split this Richard Spencer quote in two because it's misleading at first, okay? Richard Spencer, the Nazi who got punched. He got punched at the inauguration in 2016. Quote, the Manson family had a more coherent ideology than MAGA, and the liberal criticism that American fascism is merely a personality cult around Trump seems justified, he added. But his criticism, when you think, he's not saying that there's too much Nazism here. He's saying they're faking it, like they're posers. He said, quote, at least Elon, an atheist eugenicist obsessed with rockets, seems to have really meant it. So he believes Elon's a real Nazi, but not the guy from Paul Blart 2.
Well, It feels to me like Fuentes and Spencer are kind of saying, or it's like two different types of criticism. Like that Fuentes photo, quote, at least makes it sound like he's like, look, I'm one of the biggest Nazis around, and Jesus Christ, pump the brakes a little bit. This is we're just pouring it on a little thick.
Yeah.
Whereas it seems like Richard Spencer is like, I don't buy it. I know real Nazis, and I'm not sure. I think these are performative party Nazis. They're like you said, posers, and
I know Nazis. I'm friends with Nazis. I'm a Nazi. And you, sir, are no Nazi. He means as an insult. So, but like Fuentes is basically what I take his criticism is like, I have other interests too, guys.
Yeah.
I don't always walk around doing Nazi salutes. I also play video games and talk about having girlfriends are gay.
Hate women, yes.
Yeah.
Dude, they're like, well, we hate women too. And it's like, yeah, I'm just saying, just mix it up a little bit more.
Yeah.
All right, we got a fun show for you. Producer Matt is with us. He's actually coming to us from across the pond. Not that matters to y'all. He's in jolly old London, eating eels and stuff like that. Going to places of sites of extreme depravity, historically speaking, and other such. Jay Parise. All right, but he is doing his thing. This is Weekly Skews. If I sound even more like Eeyore-ish than usual, it's because I just came back from the Carolinas today. Just got off the plane about an hour and a half ago, and I'm doing this. So, you're getting the absolute best version of me, but it's going to be a good show. Mark is on his game 100%. This is Weekly Skews. Before we continue,
I need a nap.
Yeah. Before we continue, I've got a couple announcements, as always. First, if you'd like to see me do stand-up comedy live and in person, which is what I was doing this weekend, and it was awesome. Thanks to everybody who came to the Carolina shows. Go to TreyCrowder.com and check out my upcoming tour dates. I got Florida coming up next, Fort Lauderdale and Tampa, and then and then Minneapolis, and then a big Northeastern run, and actually Austin, Texas. We're adding that to the website now. I have a little mix up with that. If we got any Austin people, I'm coming there at the end of March. Be on the lookout for those links and stuff, and then a ton of other places after that as well. Also, that's all at TreyCrowder.com. Also, if you enjoy this program and would like to show your support, you can do so by signing up on Patreon. Go to weeklyskews.com/more, or just go on Patreon and search for my name. Either way works. $5 a month gets you access to 2 full-length bonus episodes. It's just, we do episodes of this show. We just do more of them. So if you like this show, you'll like that. Sometimes we do Q&As, which, by the way, Mark, just so you know, people are hankering for another one. So I think maybe we should do that soon. Either way, get some more Skews in your life. Support the show in the process. Now, as for this iteration of Weekly Skews, as Mark alluded to up top, we're talking about our president and government's quest to starve us all to death for efficiency and freedom reasons or something. I'm not entirely sure on it, but it seems bad. To not have food, and farmers are starting to get upset about it all, I reckon. We got a lot of things to get into, but first we begin with the Daily Dumbass. Mac, graphic, please. Tonight's DD, women who worry their pretty little heads over their government being destroyed and don't realize they're doing a January 6th to poor little Congressman Rich McCormick. This is from a town hall in Roswell, Georgia.
Yeah.
Tyranny is rising in the White House, and a man has declared himself our king. So I would like to know, rather, the people would like to know what you, congressmen, and your fellow congressmen are going to do to rein in the megalomaniac in the White House.
I'm not going to give you my best foghorn leghorn response to that. But what I was, you can go ahead and sit down. Thank you. When you talk about tyranny, when you talk about presidential power, I remember having the same discussion with Republicans when Biden was elected. The funny thing is, you're sitting here and a lot of you would probably say those January 6s who are yelling just as loud as you, who are upset just like you.
Tyranny is...
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, so that was, I don't know exactly. I'm assuming some kind of coordinated effort to get people together to show up at this thing, but I was just a little heartened by the response to that, because it's Roswell, Georgia. It's, not like a Democratic stronghold. This guy, this very white MAGA Republican dude is the elected congressman there, and they're giving him the business, and a pretty big response. Loud chorus of boos, people cheering. She called him a megalomaniac, and that's something.
He's the guy who we talked about a couple weeks ago. He talked about how children should have their food, the free lunch cut, and they should all get jobs. And he's the congressman who skateboards around the Capitol, and he went on American Gladiators. That's the guy. Okay. So Rich McCormick's, let me quote here. Rich McCormick's staff, quote, seemed caught off guard by the massive crowd at his town hall, and in district, Trump won by 22 points. Okay. I watched a couple videos from this. It looked like all white people. I didn't see anyone younger than 45.
Right.
And this is a district, Trump won by 22, but Republicans typically win it by 30 plus in this district. And he's getting fucking screamed at by people. You got to remember, man, federal employees do not just live in Washington, D.C. They're spread out all over the country. And this isn't far from the headquarters of the CDC, which is based outside of Atlanta.
Well, that's the thing. It's I don't know that this is the. I mean, you just said it's near the headquarters of CDC, but I don't know the situation in this actual area. But where I used to work at, in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, that town's like a company town for the DOE and the lab, and that whole everything kind of revolves around the DOE site there. So everybody's kind of they got stakes in what happens with, like, if that all just gets shut down, like mothballed overnight or whatever. I mean, it would devastate that whole community and area for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I got a buddy from high school who worked in, like, he does tech for, like, the Naval Surface Warfare Intelligence Center. He's like a private employee of the federal government, and he's like, I mean, he's like, doesn't really follow politics closely. He's like, I just basically usually vote Republican for defense spending purposes because it affects his own job. That logic's been flipped on its fucking head. I'm not sure what new politics is going to come out of this, but it's not going to make any sort of old sense.
Right.
And like, I imagine that people in the Department of Energy had kind of the same logic, because if anybody was going to defund the nukes historically, it would have been like some super woke person, right? Mm-hmm. So like, I was trying to figure out, like, we're about to talk about more incidents of stuff like this happening. Plus, people are protesting Tesla dealerships all over the country. Somebody shot up a Tesla dealership in Oregon after it set a fire.
I saw a Tesla. Maybe we put that on the show. Sorry if we did. I can't remember. But I know I saw a picture of seemingly employees at a Tesla dealership had, like, put a sign up in their window or something that said something like, "We think he's a dick too, just so you know," or something like that. Cause they were probably getting harassed or whatever, and they were like, "Yeah, no, listen, he sucks."
I always wonder, like, because I don't typically watch, like, TV news. I wonder what normies are seeing and hearing about, and usually the stuff I observe isn't, like, well delivered or bad. But I was like, okay, so yesterday I was watching basketball, and the game went off, and ABC local news came on, and it was like stories about federal employees, like good-hearted federal employees who lost their job, and then the newscaster's like, today the president posted a SpongeBob meme about federal job cuts. No, people really started to figure out how fucking dumb this is, and I really think, like, look, news usually has a hard time covering these fucking budget fights because they're boring and kind of conflict averse, and Democrats are not providing enough conflict, but these voters are, and I kind of think, as annoying as I find Elon, and evil as I find Elon, he made a real mistake here, and that's kind of being too interesting to the news. Okay. And people are like, I didn't see that. Trump's been president a month, dude. Mm-hmm. A month. And people are already screaming at town halls in Republican districts. So Cliff Bentz in Oregon, as a Republican, had a town hall. The crowd started chanting, "Tax Elon, tax the wealthy, tax the rich, and tax the billionaires." That's a district that Trump won by like 40 points. A Republican district in California, they had a town hall there where people did a "No Kings" chant at their stupid congressman when he tried to push back on any of this shit. Weirdly,
I mean, Luigi's going to court. People have put up, like, free Luigi signs and stuff like that, St. Luigi billboards and things like that. Yeah, in cities and whatnot.
Weird things happen in this country. I saw an interview with a Republican veteran, okay, who said essentially his criticism of Elon at a town hall, where he said a bunch of racist shit about white South Africans, and I was like, is this the way out of this shit? We give him a new racist target, and it's white South Africans.
What was this? I mean, you don't have to, like, what is the, what's the angle there? Like, if you're like a
go back to your
country. Okay.
Yeah, right. yeah. So, Representative Stephanie Bice of Oklahoma. Let me read this exchange she had with a constituent. All right, constituent. It was a dude. I listened to the recording. It's just a little bit jarbled, hard to make out. So, I'm a registered Republican voter, retired active Army officer. How can you tell me that Doge was some college whiz kid from a computer terminal in Washington, D.C. without even getting into the field? After about a week or maybe two, is determined that it's okay to cut veterans' benefits. Vice. I think a couple things. Let me give you an example. Did you know that the VA was in charge of payments for illegals, for housing, for basically the VA? And he interrupted her and he goes, "That's a false flag." He's fucking accusing her of a false flag attack against the United States. The mainstream white ring loons do not like this shit. Okay, right. And
well, because because with a lot of things with them over the years, it's like it's starting. The ones that we're hearing from, and a lot of ones that were mad, including the farmers and stuff. It's like it's affecting them. You know what I mean? Like, it's bad for them, and it's like that's kind of how conservatives have sort of always been. I feel like,
for
where it's
sure,
like,
but I'm trying
and
to.
He's hurting a lot of people. So, like,
it's. I'm sort of a lot of people are taking glee in these people's, like, they do the fuck around find out thing. Like, a guy, this went viral yesterday. A guy called into a C-SPAN show from West Virginia, and he was complaining about his insulin going up from $50 a month to $80 some a month. And a bunch of people were like, fuck around, find out, all this shit. Even though he didn't even say, he never said he supported Trump or voted for him. It sounded like to me he didn't, but because he had a southern accent, everyone's like fucking thinks this guy should die of diabetes.
Yeah, that
like,
sucks.
And I'm like you got to understand, man, politics in America has gotten extremely abnormal. And people still vote like it's normal because they don't really follow all this shit closely. Like if you watch this show, you know that, again, Big Balls is posting on message boards with satanic Nazi child porn cult members, right? Mm-hmm. But you can't say that on ABC News, right? So what the fuck are people supposed to do to like take away from this shit? Like the hardcore, the ones who are outwardly racist, fuck them. The ones who just like think Republicans mean you get to like go hunting. What are we gonna do? Like we're gonna like wait. We're gonna wish misery on all them. I just can't do it anymore.
No, I mean, I agree. I'm with you on that too. Yeah. I mean, I've known, being from where I'm from, I've known a ton of people. Like I've got very, very good friends who now are, Trump voters and shit. And it's just you have to just like I don't know, compartmental. I still love those people, and it's like I just whatever. It's just something
nice
I don't
people.
get.
You talk to them, they're nice people. They would not do anything personally to harm anyone ever. So it's a weird moment in history, and like I just prefer to complain about people with actual power. So like they didn't quote here. This is at a town hall in a Republican plus 18 district from at a business luncheon, and GOP Representative Troy Balderson, quote, described President Donald Trump's flurry of executive orders as getting out of control and expressed some pushback to the idea of sole decision-making power lying with Trump and billionaire advisor Elon Musk. Congress has to decide whether or not Department of... All right, so, like, even if you live in a Republican district, call your fucking representative, man. These people will cave to pressure. They do not want to get real jobs. So, yeah, call your representatives and complain at them, yell at them at town hall events until they pass the law to make it that terrorism, which they're definitely going to try to do at some point, and then at which point you'll get a robot dog sent to your house with a gun on its head to shoot you. So this is like when I say they're going too fast, like Trump's trying to do two separate things at the same time: become an authoritarian leader and implement a massively unpopular policy program. You can't do both those things at the same fucking time.
Right. I think so. Yeah.
Right. So, like, you remember that old Obama quote, like, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together, right? Trump's trying to go fast, go alone, go real far, and go alone. All right.
Right.
And, like, you got to remember, all the Project 2025 policies pull around the 20% range, which is why he lied and said it wasn't his platform. So,
right. So, I mean, I feel like that's kind of been the question. I said the whole time. Again, we're a month in, but, like, the question has been, we know, or at least we very much believe and project that all these things he's doing, they're going to be bad, and it's going to make things bad. And the question to me has always been like, then what happens when that becomes evident? And it's like you're already starting to see people who are pissed off, like Republican voters and shit, are becoming pissed off. And it's like, as that snowballs and it's undeniable and everyone's super pissed off and worried and freaked out, then like what Trump and Elon and all them, Project 2025, what do they do then? Just tell everybody, well, fuck you. We got ours. We're in power anyway, so we don't care what you think. And fucking,
they can do it for a while, but assuming there are still elections in 2 years, Congress is going to get wiped out. Then what? Right. So like over the weekend, Hegseth and Trump fired every black and female chairman of the Joint Chiefs, members of the Joint Chiefs, plus got rid of all their JAG lawyers who would tell them that war crimes are illegal. Right. And I would assume that was part of the plan because they want to put like loyalists in place in case they have to give the order to deploy the military and shoot protesters, right? So, but in their head, I bet you they imagine those protesters were like Antifa or BLM or brown people who are mad about immigration. Every clip I watched of those town halls was a middle-aged white woman.
Right.
So I think their calculus is off, is what I'm saying. I don't know if they're going to pull the trigger to shoot middle-aged white women. Maybe they will. I don't fucking know. But like, the anger out there is so intense, and I'm kind of tired of complaining about Democratic leadership being like out of step with how angry people are. But like, if they don't find their footing, they're going to face like a liberal Tea Party revolt. Like I expect some Democrats to do it in primaries next year because they're not being responsive to their own constituents.
Yeah, like a liberal Tea Party, and it's like what? So, I remember once seeing when the Tea Party was happening in Oak Ridge, I saw flyers that somebody put out, and this caught. This made zero progress, but they were calling it the Coffee Party, and it was basically just like
Don't do that.
progressive, yeah, like a progressive wing. We need like a left response to what the Tea Party is, whatever. And some enterprising some bitch in East Tennessee, all those many moons ago, was already trying to get the ball rolling on that. But it does seem like a more realistic proposition in the near future, because there's like a definite hunger and feeling for that. I mean, on the left, it's people are fractured, hopeless, and they have no faith in the establishment of Democrats.
Right. Were you supposed to an environment where I didn't confirm this, but I saw the reports there was like somebody set an ice truck on fire in Philly, and people are shooting up Tesla dealerships and protesting all over the country, even though a lot of them aren't being covered. People are screaming at town hall meetings, and Hakeem Jeffries is doing a fucking book tour, where he got yelled at. Of course, he got yelled at. What do you expect to happen when you're doing a book tour in the middle of all this shit, dude? Again, it's not all bad. Like Bernie's doing events in red districts, that are having to expand capacity because he's trying to pressure enough Republicans to peel off votes to stop them from repealing Medicare. So it's at least something someone's doing. This is so Trump's goon in D.C. talking about Democrats are actually trying. His U.S. attorney for D.C., which is going to try to be the guy I guess going to try to prosecute Democratic Congresspeople or whatever. His name's Ed Martin. He wrote a letter to Robert Garcia, who's a Democratic congressman from Southern California, who said, "At this time, respectfully request you clarify your comments from February 12th during the live interview with CNN when asked how Democrats can stop Elon Musk. You spoke clearly, quote, what the American public wants is for us to bring in actual weapons to this bar fight, an actual fight for democracy." Now he's trying to accuse him of fomenting an insurrection for saying bringing weapons to a bar fight.
Yeah, inciting violence or whatever.
Right. He said, "This sounds like a threat to Mr. Musk, an appointed representative of President Donald Trump, who you call a, quote, dick." So are they not familiar with the Streisand effect? Because they basically got major newspapers to print that Elon Musk is a dick. Right. Anyway, good for Garcia.
This guy had done this. I mean, you probably had heard the inciting incident of what Garcia did, but I only heard about it because of this right here, the coverage of the. Oh, yeah,
I had not. So I found out about it because this guy wrote a letter.
Yeah.
So this happened today.
Yeah. I was wondering if you would see this, you specifically, because of the whatever AI nature of it.
This happened this morning at the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Today's the first day of their mandatory return to the office. A video played on loop for 5 minutes on screens throughout the building, per an agency source. This according to an independent reporter named Marissa Cabas. Building staff couldn't figure out how to turn it off, so they sent people to every floor to unplug TVs. This is what was playing on the TVs, if you got this video, Matt.
Yeah. Trigger warning. Hope you didn't eat recently.
All right. So
if you're only listening to the show, it's like an AI-generated short video clip of Donald Trump sucking Elon Musk's toes.
With the text, "Long live the real king," plastered over it.
Yeah.
So some context here if you can't see it. In the picture, Elon has 2 left feet, okay, if you're wondering how AI is going. Mm-hmm. So the Washington Post write-up of this could describe the video as, quote, possibly AI generated. So the Washington Post, due to the conventions of journalism that we all find so frustrating in the way they approach it, is leaving open the possibility that someone got a hold of a real video of the president sucking Elon Musk's toes in the Oval Office, and Elon has been revealed to have 2 left feet.
Yeah. Well, dude, I mean, if this had happened during the Biden administration and it was him, I don't know what fucking George Soros or whoever, there would be people. I'm not saying it, most people would realize that it was fake, but there would definitely be people acting as though it was a real thing. You know? And I don't mean Washington Post. I mean people on Twitter and stuff. That would be like,
oh, for sure. Yeah, the Liz of TikTok would have ran with it. All right, let's talk about food. We eat it most days, right? We're big fans.
Yeah.
So think this Doge thing should be the end of the quote run government like a business people. Like this is just like it's never made any sense, and this is sort of the most comically stupid version of it. These Silicon Valley dipshits have heightened all the contradictions. Like running the government like it was General Motors was bad. Running it like it's Pets.com is Darwin Award shit. All right. Just to say things that should be obvious to anybody who's thought about this for like 14 seconds. The reason you can't run government like a business is to business people, redundancy looks like inefficiency. Okay.
Right. Well, it's like, I mean, the goals are not, they're fundamentally different.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not for profit for one.
Exactly.
But
which changes everything, immediately.
But even like how you think about budgeting and stuff, like especially these Silicon Valley businesses are built upon like aspirational optimism, like insane optimism. Like you give me $10 million, in 3 years I give you back $100 billion. Okay. Right. Governments have redundancies because the whole point is protecting against downside risk. You have to run a government like you're an incredibly pessimistic person. You've got to guard against every fucking thing that could ever go wrong. Mm-hmm. That's why you put 2 or 3 guys in a nuclear missile silo in case one dies, has a heart attack, falls asleep, or goes insane. The other 2 guys are necessary 99.99999% of the time. But what happens the other percent?
Right.
And like this is also so fucking simple. I can't believe it's never occurred to like the genius is going to save humanity by getting a blowjob from a robot on Mars. The farcical example of this, you follow the mass email Elon sent to every federal employee over the weekend.
Yeah. Oh wait, a new one. I mean, I know that again. I got a good buddy that still works for the federal government, and he has sent me some of the emails they've been getting along the way.
Right. They got an email Saturday night.
They got to like justify their existence or something.
Send an email back with 5 bullet points telling us what you did to make a difference last week.
Right.
Okay? Yeah. How do you prove that you prevented something just by existing?
Right.
Like say like wasn't an FDA inspector supposed to do? Send back a JPEG of all the diarrhea that Americans didn't have because they were working?
Yeah. Right. Good point.
How do you? A lot of this stuff is proving a negative, and their plan is to like run all these emails through an AI to determine which people's jobs are quote mission critical. So some artificial intelligence is going to tell a college-age anime race science incel to fire every natural disaster response team because they didn't have much to do between the days of February 6th and 23rd of 2025.
Right.
You don't have those teams because they're busy all the time.
Yeah.
You have those teams because if a nuclear reactor explodes, you need them.
Yes. I just don't. It's crazy that I don't know that anybody is on board with like Big Balls and his ilk being in a position to do all of this in the first place, because it's like it's almost like a trope, like some hotshot kid or nepo baby or something shows up and tries to tell you how to do your job or whatever when you've been doing it for 30 years because they've run some analytics or whatever else, but it's like, but you don't understand.
He's gone
how it
to one
actually
semester
works.
of college. One semester of college.
And it's like, I just thought it's like universally accepted that's like, it's bad when that happens. And we all know that the 30-year veteran is the one who is right in that scenario, and that people are actually like backing this, though, because they think they're geniuses, I guess, just because their association with Elon or whatever. They're like wunderkinds, so they're special.
Because
they're different
it's
types
because
of
they can do computer stuff, and Chuck Schumer doesn't know computer stuff. That's it.
Right. Yes. 100%.
If you know computer stuff, you're a fucking genius. It's like, shut the fuck up. Like, right. I was thinking about how short-sighted everyone in power is being when I saw this. It's a news story from Kansas about some Republican senator, Republican congressperson trying to save a USAID program by moving it out of USAID. If you got this, Matt.
Kansas lawmakers are trying to save a program that helps local farmers while feeding the hungry around the world. Today, Representative Tracy Mann and Senator Jerry Moran introduced a bill to transfer the Food for Peace program to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Now, the program sends surplus food from farms to areas of global conflict. It's currently under the U.S. Agency for International Development. The agency was shuttered by President Donald Trump and Elon Musk's Doge, and its future is unclear. Mann says moving the program to the USDA is a win-win for Kansas farmers and U.S. policy.
I've never met a farmer that doesn't care about feeding hungry mouths around the world. It's good for our policy, nationally or internationally as we are leading. It also matters. This is the most cost-effective thing we can do because we've learned that radical Islamist terrorism and other bad things happen when people are starving.
All right, cut back. So I find this funny that the Kansas senator is talking about it in terms of foreign aid in the way that like a liberal would talk about it in terms of like you feed people that don't join terror groups. Because Democrats gave up on that fight because consultants told them that foreign aid was a bad fight. But what he's trying not to do is to sound self-interested because this is good for the business of Kansas farmers.
Right. Because they grow some of this program. The government was paying them for some of this food that they were sending to other places. Mm-hmm. Right. So they're it's like losing a major customer for them or whatever. But it's like the way she framed it, she was like, it's a program that helps local farmers while feeding hungry people around the world, and it's just the idea of somebody be like, "Boo!"
Yeah, it's a fucking we've already talked about it before, but it's so much of a fucking win-win that I can't believe. Anyway, it's like,
right.
So I might end up dying on this hill as we collapse into fucking a dark timeline. But like I in general, I think most everyday people are pretty normal and caring. The ones I know anyway, and wouldn't want people in Africa to starve, especially if it costs Kansas farmers their business. But like, let's ignore the whole caring about others part of this for a second and just talk about like how a government should think and why we need to keep farms viable. Okay, one of Kansas's biggest crops is sorghum. All right, which is used.
Big fan.
It's mostly used for animal feed, and poorer people eat it in porridge. Okay.
Yes. I feel like it was much more popular in the old-timey days and westerns and stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah, you got to run some big sacks of sorghum. You got to float it down logs on a river and stuff. That's before the railroad came through, that type of thing.
But since then, Americans have voted with their mouths and decided they'd rather eat Doritos. Okay.
Sure.
So, but you know what? There are points in time when people don't really care about preferences, and those are hard times. We can eat sorghum in a fucking pinch. I'm talking about like times of war, pandemic, Great Depression.
Great Depression, yes.
And it's worth noting that this program was established before U.S. aid under Dwight Eisenhower, who big bullet point in his resume was winning a world war during a time of food deprivation. So it is bad for America's national interest to not be able to grow our own food.
I know, right? It's like, why? How is that revelatory to anybody? Or like, how are you going out on a limb by positing that? Seems pretty self-evident.
But because we don't need it at this very moment, we don't need to eat sorghum. It looks like a market inefficiency to a psychotic libertarian like Elon. Okay. Mm-hmm. But if those farms go under, we're not going to be able to stand them up in time to keep people from starving to death. I can't believe I have to second say this shit out loud. And this is one of the reasons, like, occasionally whenever there's, like, any sort of big political fight in America, it resorts to, like, the red state versus blue state thing, which to me is always an overly simplistic way to think about things, considering, like, all of America is pretty spread out and diverse, and, like, it's just like... because Republicans win elections 53-47 doesn't mean that we should abandon the 47% of people who we're more empathetic with.
And plus every state is made up of, it's kind of the same general dynamics in every state, just with like slightly different numbers on whatever side of the ratio. Meaning it's like a lot of the cities are bluer, and then the big chunks of everywhere else are red, and that's true in California too. There's hardcore MAGA Trump country in California, and there's liberal strongholds in Tennessee. So they're like red state, blue state. Framing it that way is always, because a lot of people have been talking. I mean, not seriously, but like people on the internet have been like, "This is what should happen. The whole West Coast and the Northeast should join Canada. We should leave and join Canada, and then the rest of the states, the entire South and everything, they can just be, Trumpistan or whatever if they want to be in that type of thing." And I'm like, that, my whole family lives in Tennessee. I don't want to, be banned from Trumpistan, never see my nephew again. I find that upsetting.
We're not going to be able to do a Vietnam airlift to get all the trans people out of Mississippi, so I don't think we should just abandon them. So basically, the frustrating part about this is I firmly believe that we live in a society, and I want even hardcore MAGA people to be able to go to the doctor, right? And I don't know how to but there's always this discourse where red states are welfare queens basically, because most of the blue states like California and Massachusetts and New York pay the overwhelming majority of tax money to the federal government, and they're yada yada yada. I'm not sure what the implication is. We should get more say, but you also got to think about the downstream implication of what you're saying is basically what you're saying is that because potatoes are less profitable to grow than mortgage-backed securities are to paper up and sell, like they do in Manhattan, that we should say fuck the potato farmer. And I just say personally, when the shit hits the fan, in my commune, I'd rather have the potato farmer than the mortgage-backed securities guy.
Yeah.
So
and his potatoes.
Yeah. We're all in this together. Like we need people to be able to grow food. We actually do not need a mortgage-backed security guy, but there are like functional jobs in cities. I live in a city. I like it. I'm just saying, like, you got like I wish people would think through this stuff before they say it, but like as a farm kid, and I say that I was a fat kid who liked to read, who occasionally was forced to do manual labor. I'm not trying to steal some farm valor here, but it has always bugged me that Americans are by and large very disconnected from their food supply, and it's not like that's the way we chose to do it. It's not a moral judgment on anybody. It's just like most people. I'm just saying most people who eat meat have never actually killed anything other than a bug, probably.
Right.
I was thinking about, like, one time a girl I was dating in college drove home with me on a Sunday for my grandma's birthday dinner, I think it was, and we passed a cow pasture, and because farmers use all their land for obvious reasons, the fence is right up to the easement on the road, and the cow are just standing there chewing cud or whatever, and she just starts laughing out loud. I'm like, "What are you laughing at?" And she's like, "They're cows." I'm like, "Yeah, I mean they're cows," and she goes, "They're right there," and I'm like, where the fuck did you expect them to be? I don't understand. Like, where are they supposed to be? Like, it's funny that they were in her sight. She who ate hamburgers just didn't expect to ever see a cow.
Yeah. Wait. Sorry. Who is this person that this happened to, or who said this? Like
a girl I was dating in college.
Where was she from? So she's like a city girl or something.
A suburb of Richmond. She wasn't from like Manhattan or something. It was like she was like an hour and a half away from me.
Yeah, because that's just I'm from the middle of fucking nowhere, and it's like one thing that we literally used to do to pass the time. Me and my boy Thompson was like, we would go out across from one of these cow pastures you're talking about, comes right up to the road, and we'd like park on the side of the road and like smoke some dirt weed, and then like give the cows voices and act out a little like little radio player dialogue between the different cows, which is they're looking at the cow and give this one a voice and that one the voice. So like I just can't, cows were such a big part, a formative part of my growth as an entertainer. Cows.
I also think growing up around farm animals is one of the reasons I'm very enthusiastically for stuff like beef inspection, and also like why I would never drink raw milk. Like only a psycho who's never been around a cow would want to drink raw milk, but whatever. So I'm thinking about all this stuff and about how like the spring thaw is about to happen, and a bunch of farmers don't know if or when they should plant or what they should plant because they don't know what the government's going to fund or subsidize. So I was reading this story yesterday. Republican lawmakers no-show as Western Wisconsin farmers complain of Trump's chaos and disruption. This is a story from the Washington Examiner. A quote here: Emmett Fisher, who runs a small dairy farm in Hager City, said during the town hall that he was struggling with the freeze that's been put on federal spending, which affected grants he was set to receive through the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The story also quoted crop farmers worried about tariffs on fertilizer, putting them out of business. These are people whose communities are heavily reliant on Badger Care and Medicaid to get by. Grown men cried at this town hall. There were supposed to be eight politicians, eight public servants, I should put it that way, were invited. The four Democrat Congress people showed up. The four Republicans did not. I pose a question. One of Wisconsin's, I talked about potato farmers earlier. It's one of Wisconsin's bigger crops. I pose this question to Mr. Trump and Mr. Elon. Who is going to grow potato? Mm-hmm. Who's going to milk cow for butter to melt on potato?
I mean, it's a good question because isn't part of their whole thing supposed to be, they love tariffs so much, right? Which part of their justification for the idea of tariffs is because it will incentivize people to get shit from America instead. But if you're, if you can't buy it because of tariffs, you can't buy it from elsewhere because of tariffs, and you can't get it here because you're like stopping everyone from being able to produce it in the name of efficiency or whatever, then well, then what? We just don't have potatoes because that's not going to be popular. People really fucking love potatoes, myself included.
While you're talking about tariffs, Trump was asked about the EU, European Union might be slapping tariffs on American products, including produce and like meat. And this is how he responded to it. If you got this clip, Matt.
He was talking about banning food imports from the U.S. Kind of along the lines of your reciprocal
Why is that?
tariffs.
Why?
Reciprocal tariffs. They don't like the
That's all right. I don't mind. Let them do it. Let them do it. They're just hurting themselves if they do that. I can't imagine it, but...
All right, cut it, Matt. He said if they slap tariffs on our products, they're just hurting themselves.
Right. Yeah.
So what is it when we do it?
When we do it, when we do what they're talking about doing, it's funny. He's like, they're just hurting themselves. All that's going to do is drive up costs for the people in their country when they have passed those tariffs. So it's, what kind of idiot would do some shit like that?
So let's talk about what Trump has done to American farmers so far. He's frozen their foreign aid program, leaving their food to rot. He's frozen legally owed reimbursements for their energy efficiency upgrades. He's threatened to deport half their workforce. He's suppressed research on bird flu and has encouraged the European Union to ban their products. He's also fired a bunch of food inspectors, and now I can't quite say that for sure because he's also rehired a bunch of them and then fired them again and hired them and refired them. I'm not sure who works for the government right now. But firing food inspectors is a second assault on farmers potentially because if the food's not getting inspected, we can document that it's safe to eat. Other countries are not going to fucking import it. Forget making us sick for a second. The farms are going to go under because they have less customers. We have to eat this shit, but other countries don't have to let it in. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
There was back in 2017, I think it was, there was this big, I'm not sure how much of a noise it made in American news, but JBS, which is a Brazilian meat packer, basically, was shipping a bunch of rotten meat to China and the European Union. And China and EU caught them bribing food inspectors and stopped importing JBS meat. JBS's CEOs got arrested in Brazil, connected to this somewhat. And I mean, they were robbing people in Brazil. It's more what they got arrested for there. But EU and China arrested food inspectors in their country. I think China just fucking killed theirs. So other countries don't play about this shit.
Right.
So I don't know why evil, a country we consider evil like China, they take the health of the food their people eat more safely than we take ours. But you can think through that while you're trying to go to sleep later. So let's talk about the egg shortage for a minute. The egg shortage is a government failure too, just in the big picture sense, not in the Joe Biden didn't push the more egg button in the Oval Office. It's more like the bipartisan consensus that the public has no further will for public health efforts and disease mitigation, talk about bird flu, and also not enough appetite for antitrust enforcement, preventing mergers,
I know.
crackdowns on price gouging.
It's you get this idea. It's after COVID and everything, like you said, the public just doesn't have. They just won't. They're just we ain't doing none of that ever again. Don't even say the word about it. We're not doing vaccines. We're not doing none of that shit. And it's but what? So we just let disease run rampant then? And it's also with bird, you don't even have to, we're not even talking about doing anything to people yet, right? Vaccine. So it's I don't know. I feel like they should just fucking do it. You got to tell people, but...
I think the Biden administration just didn't want to fuck with big agriculture leading up to an election year. I can't really figure it out. Because they could have farms were basically refusing to do more testing because they did not want to find positives. They had to cull their herds. Right. And it's yeah. But the need to cull your herd is why we need to test, man. If we need to figure out a way to do bailouts or reimburse you for the cattle or birds you kill, then fuck it, we'll do that. But letting bird flu fester is not a good idea. And then today's not about that. But anyway, so U.S. egg prices reached a 45-year high as bird flu intensifies. I've seen some estimates are up to $8 for a dozen eggs. And I was thinking about that. There's a saga I've been following online about this one street parked Cybertruck in Brooklyn that all the neighbors take turns egging every day.
Yeah, that's real commitment in this specific egg climate. Egging a douchebag Cybertruck in this economy is a really strong statement.
And I've seen other reports of Cybertruck forums of the drivers complaining about getting egged. And I'm through my rough estimates, I bet at least $1 of the price per every dozen eggs is due to inflation caused by mass eggings of Cybertrucks. So I'm just to briefly touch on bird flu. I'm not trying to panic everybody, but it is progressed like mammals, like they found in elephant seals in Argentina. Bird-to-bird transitions picking up. And again, not trying to panic everybody, but in the halting metaphor department, let me read this headline. Bald eagle found in northwest suburbs may have died from bird flu, expert says. None to worry about.
Yeah. Seems like that can only be one type of omen.
Yeah.
The
Still,
bad kind.
Still no sign of human-to-human transmission, but if it gets there, we are absolutely fucked. It's way worse than COVID. So, Kevin Hassett, director of the National Economic Council, was talking about Trump's avian flu plan over the weekend. Let me read this stupid-ass quote to you. While they're asking the guy who's in charge of the National Economic Council about how they're going to stop bird flu, he's not an expert on vaccines, animals,
birds, flu.
Yeah. None of it. He's ostensibly an expert on money, but what I'm read about him, he's not even an expert on that. Whatever. So what we need to do is have better ways with biosecurity and medication and so on to make sure the perimeter doesn't have to kill the chickens. To have a better, smarter perimeter. They're killing chickens to stop the spread, but chickens don't really fly. So what he wants to do is to kill the geese and ducks, who I guess are flying over and coughing on the chickens. Motherfucker. The problem is not that the chickens are flying from coop to coop. It's one chicken gets it and gives it to all the other chickens in his coop, and it's fucking mutating while they're passing it back and forth.
Right.
So
and you won't, and people are like hiding the fact that their chickens have it or refusing to check for it in the first place. So these chickens are getting moved around, transported like chickens always are, and then, it's pretty easy to see how that could spiral.
And he's talking about doing better biosecurity, like meaning checking what the chickens when they go in and out of the coops, but like when they cross the borders and shit, state borders and international borders, but the Trump administration just fired all the biosecurity people who work at border stations. They just here's a headline: Trump administration is trying to rehire USDA bird flu officials it fired. This article, man, it says the layoffs are part of a cost-cutting mission. Stop fucking saying that. The entire federal workforce, their payroll makes up 4% of their federal budget. This has nothing to do with cost cutting. And also, the money's already been taxed. It's in federal bank accounts.
Right.
It's going to be spent on something. They're just not spending on stuff that's going to save our fucking lives and our food supply. So I do stop. Every reporter, stop saying it's about cost cutting. It's not fucking about that. So other stuff we're not fucking doing. Here's a question from this headline. Why isn't the U.S. using a bird flu vaccine in poultry?
Because vaccines are gay, and everybody knows it.
Because we can't make the Dino chicken nuggets autistic, Trey, I guess. So no one has really answered the question why we haven't been vaccinating the chickens. That's a possibility for the thing we could do. But then last week, thank God, the Agriculture Department said, gave a stronger sign yet that the federal government could be shifting its strategy. The agency said it granted conditional license for an H5N2 bird flu vaccine designed to work against several variants. So we're going to heal the chickens of bird flu, while RFK lets your kid, measles run wild on your kids, and we're not going to be able to get a bird flu vaccine for people if it starts spreading. We're going to have universal chicken healthcare, Trey.
Yeah.
That's how we're going to solve the
healthcare than we do.
Yeah. They're just trying to solve this problem in all the stupidest ways. Like earlier this week, the United States reached an agreement to buy 15,000 tons of liquid egg from Turkey to help with the shortage.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the fuck liquid egg is, but
I was about to ask you that. I've seen it before. I'm aware of its existence, but I always just kind of thought it was, like eggs that just been sort of pre-cracked and processed.
Is it the cartons like the?
I mean, I think so, right?
Right.
Cartons
Yeah.
you can get, and you just pour out some egg juice. But I don't know what that actually is in there.
So they really think people are everyone's cemented this idea that what people are really, really mad about for the last 2 years was just egg prices, as opposed to egg prices being a metaphor for something. And they're going to thwart the proletarian coup by spraying liquid eggs into our mouths at our version of the Colosseums while migrants do Mandingo fights for gladiatorial games or something.
Yeah, eggs for everybody. The rich will be bathing in liquid eggs, drinking some champagne flutes.
Maybe it's just me and I'm alone in this, but I would trade never eating another egg again to thwart a bird flu pandemic with a strain that has a 50% fatality rate. All right?
Well, good Lord, let's hope it don't come to that, Mark. My God, getting a little extreme on here. Never eat an egg. I think you're underrating the culinary versatility and excellence of the incredible edible egg. Okay?
Again,
they do a lot of great things.
50% fatality rate, Trey.
Yeah.
150 million Americans dead.
But at what cost? And I just really hope we don't ever, have to lose eggs forever. I'm a big fan. I'm very appreciative of the mighty egg.
Well, I'm telling you, Trey, if this pops off in human transmission after we fired all the scientists who work on the vaccines and therapeutics, you're never eating another egg again anyway, buddy. I know what to tell you. So just like this. So again, government is business. Like, because the pandemic's not currently happening, we're firing everybody who would hypothetically work on it. And again, like, I saw an interview with like a disease expert who says like, okay, well, we got like a 5 to 10% chance of us getting to human transmission, which is not great odds for the virus. I'm just asking you, how much would you risk on a 5 to 10% bet? And would you be willing to spend slightly more tax dollars to curb those odds?
Yeah, 5 to 10 is way too fucking unacceptably high for that particular number. I would have hoped it was more like, but 0.25% type. This type of thing is not that. But yeah, 5 to 10 is very disconcertingly high.
Yeah. We talk about eggs. Like, eggs aren't as like totally controlled as other agricultural interests, but it's been trending that way. Okay. Let me quote here: egg production continues to consolidate among a shrinking number of industrial, vertically integrated or contracted farms. I'm quoting from a blog called Food Power, but they linked to their sources that were credible. Even the organic shit's getting bought up by private equity. See, if you buy your little cage, you're like, I'm doing the cage-free organic stuff from down the street. Nah, all that money's going to somebody on Wall Street too. Egg production is concentrated regionally, with some 45% of production located in just 4 states: Iowa, Ohio, Indiana, and Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania is a swing state, and if you want to be president, you got to kiss Iowa's ass. So I guess that's probably one reason nobody's fucking with their money. Today, just 59 companies comprise 87% of all egg production, and the 4 largest corporations claim 28% of egg sales. The main player here is a Mississippi-based company called Cal Maine. Now, if you want to talk about like consolidation, why is a company based in Mississippi called California, Maine?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's also not one of the 4 states you named when you were talking about the height of egg production.
Right, but they control farms all over the country. They also control 16% of sales and more than 40 million hens. Okay,
so this is big egg we're talking about.
Yeah, big egg. They grew through takeovers, acquiring over 20 companies since 1989, and it describes itself as a, quote, leader in industry consolidation. Congrats on that, buddy. I like when they put the reasons we should kill them down on paper. Cal Maine's control of the market gives it power to do shit like this. Here's a story called Suit Alleges Costco, Trader Joe's, and others hiked egg prices during the pandemic. Cal Maine was also named this lawsuit filed by the state of Texas. It claimed that Cal Maine raised generic egg prices by 300%, even though the pandemic had not disrupted its supply chains.
No, surely not. That don't sound right. I can't see an American corporation doing something like that. In a time of desperation for people. Yeah. And Cal Maine's been caught fixing prices before. They got sued and had to pay a settlement of $50-some million, I believe, a couple years ago. The suit wasn't decided until 2024, but it was filed back in 2003. And you're like, wait, 20 years? That must have been expensive. And the answer is yes. And that's why the plaintiffs were Kraft, Nestle, and General Mills, the industrial egg purchasers. Large companies could afford to fund a 2-decade lawsuit to get paid back for the money they were fucked out of. What I'm saying is, we, the consumers, did not get our cut for getting fucked for price gouging back in 2003, nor have I seen any result from that lawsuit filed after the pandemic when they were price gouging. And what do you know? In the middle of this bird flu, this egg shortage that is ostensibly caused solely by a bird flu related supply shock, they just announced, they put puns in their fucking evil press releases. Cal Maine Foods posts exceptional growth despite avian influenza challenges. Their shares have gone up 105% in the past year, while they're supposedly suffering dealing with bird flu. Rich get richer, buddy.
Yeah, man. If eggs are so expensive, let's eat the fucking rich.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, boy. Finally, somebody says it. Mm-hmm. I'm down. Trying to come up with a good rich person marinade or something. But either way, that's a rallying cry for the end of this episode. Thanks for watching. Yeah, you
got to smother a particularly tender rich person in béarnaise sauce, which you need eggs to make. Though is the problem.
Yeah. See, I'm telling you, Mark, we need eggs. Thank you guys for watching. Again, go to TreyCrowder.com. Check out my upcoming tour dates. Come see me on the road. I promise we're having a good time out there. And also consider supporting the show on Patreon and getting bonus episodes in the process. weeklyskews.com/more, or just go to Patreon, search for my name. But anyway, if you keep watching these here Skews D editions, we'll keep making them, and we'll see you in about a week. Love you. Bye. Skews.